Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? This is BC. Welcome back to another episode of Supreme Being, the podcast. We're on twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. To get all of the announcements over with quickly here in the beginning, shout out to Modern Success, my coaching program. I recommend all of you join who listen to this, especially if you find value in my content. You can find that on my Instagram bio at Brian Casella or go to briancasella.com. Huge shout out to Team BC, my nationwide real estate team. Much love to you guys. If you guys are interested in joining, go to jointeambc.com and check it out. If you want to find out more about my real estate company, eXp Realty, go to partnerwithteambc.com. All right, let's get into it. Today, I'm going to do an episode solely dedicated to the ladies who listen to me. Okay, this is my advice for the women of today's world. Okay, I'm releasing a video tomorrow because tonight is the 15th of June. The 16th, which is tomorrow, I'm releasing a video on my YouTube named The Biggest Problems with Women Today. If you recall, I did a video on YouTube a few weeks ago called The Biggest Problems with Men Today. And I got a lot of requests to make one for the ladies, so I decided to make one. Today on the podcast, we're going to rap back and forth for 20 minutes. I'm going to give you some insights and hopefully you take this to heart, okay? Because the main thing I want to start with is this. Society and people and human beings have created a code. Okay, now, we didn't collectively create this code. The people who run everything created a code and told you what's right or wrong, right? Or what's good or bad, right or wrong, and all that, okay? We didn't come up with a definition. The people in power did. And you have to remember that because that is going to clash directly and indirectly with nature's code, how we are, what our DNA says, how we innately are as human beings, why we respond to certain things and why we don't. Okay, case in point, before we even get into it, look at the dating world. The advice that you get from people and the average man and woman and what's in movies and this and that shit does not work. It does not work. Okay, we know that. That's obvious. All that bullshit, be yourself, buy her a drink and all that stuff, it doesn't work. We know that. Okay, now that's just one example. I can slice and dice this thing a million different ways. Okay, but real quick, I'm going to grab a new seat and we'll continue. Okay, one sec. Much better. Okay, continuing on, right? Everything is going to clash. What we've been taught is wrong. Okay, so let's get into a few points that I want to cover today because this is going to be universally applicable. You're going to be able to apply this business, personal life, relationships, whatever it is. Okay, first one is this. Men and women are different, and we have to understand that. We are different. Society's trying to tell us that we're all the same and that there's 56 genders and all this other shit. Men and women are different, okay? That's not to say that a woman can't be successful in business and all that other stuff. That's not what I'm getting. But we are different. By nature, physically, mentally, we're a little bit different, right? Emotionally, the way we're wired, we're different. We're not exactly the same. Are we similar? Of course. Men and women are meant to be together. But we're different. And we have to embrace the differences and we have to understand the differences and see them for what they actually are, not be chastised by society and, well, you can't do this. Like the whole thing happening right now with allowing transgender athletes to compete. Like, are you kidding me? We are different, meaning as a male, physically, I'm superior to probably 99.999% of women. Very few are going to be able to keep up with me physically. And it's not that, oh, I'm so much better than you. No, that's just biology. That's just how it is. Okay. And there's going to be certain things that you as a woman, you're going to be better than me as a man because you're a woman. So we have to see things again for what they actually are and stop fighting. And then me gassing somebody up, right? Gassing up a girl who maybe is a grown adult who's like 4'11". Yeah, you can kick my ass in basketball. Let's do it. It's like, no, dude, I'm going to dunk on you all day, dribble circles around you and go to town. You're not going to beat me at that. Okay. Now there are going to be exceptions to the rule, but we can't harp on that and hang on that because if 99.9% go another way and only 0.01% go the other, how can we base it as fact or say it's not true if only 0.01% are the exception to the rule, right? So getting a little deeper into the subject now, as a woman, you have to find your spots of when you're going to be more manly. A point that I'm going to make in that video is like business, right? When you're negotiating, when you're dealing with clients, that's not the time to be feminine and soft and nice and all that stuff. No, that's the worst time to do it. Why? Because you're now in the context of business and communication. And those things that I just described, in virtually every situation, you're perceived as weak, a pushover, not a good negotiator. People are going to feel like they can prey on you because it's not the right time to exhibit that sort of behavior. It's the wrong context. It's the wrong time and place to do it. Not to say that that's wrong. It's just the wrong moment to do it. So this whole thing about, men get promoted more than women. There's a lot in regards to like the genders and, men get paid more than women. Now, if you really look into it, it's completely not what people think. That story has been twisted. As an example, women are more agreeable than men in the workplace. Okay, they found that. Now, I'm not saying you should always be confrontational and not agreeable, but that's going to limit you in the workplace, especially in a place that's very masculine and cutthroat like the business world. You don't want to always be agreeable. I'm agreeable in the right instances, but look at me as a whole, even as an influencer. Am I agreeable? No, I clash with literally everything in society. Think about that. There's going to be moments that you have to do that. When you're having a hard-nosed negotiation, you're going to have to put your foot down and put your man hat on. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Learn the game. I didn't create the rules to the game, and neither did you. None of us did. But it's up to us to learn it and play it and win it, because we're not going to change the rules. And that's what society is trying to do. Oh, no, you can't think that way and be that way. You know what? Nature is always going to win. Our true nature as human beings is always going to come out and win. Even if on the surface we're not supposed to do it or it's frowned upon, guess what? It's still going to happen like it always does. Why do you think relationships fail so much and business fails so much? And the whole male-female dynamic in regards to marriage and all these other things, it's just crumbling because they're trying to make us do something that we're not supposed to do. Or they go about telling us to do something a certain way that's improper and goes against our nature and how we want to do it and how we're supposed to do it as human beings. And it causes problems. Right? Again, this transcends our nature, transcends what they told us is right or wrong, good and bad. Okay. Even look at energetically, right? The classic example, they say male energy manifested. One of them traits is order, and one of the female is chaos. And that ruffles a lot of feathers. Well, why is the woman chaos and we're not crazy? Nobody said you're crazy. Think about what I said earlier, transcends. We and that energy existed long before we started saying as a society what's good or bad and right or wrong. So we can't define those things based on our terms. They are what they are. Order is lack of chaos. Chaos is lack of order. End of story. One's not good, one's not bad, one's not right, one's not wrong. They're just two opposing poles of energy. That's it. And guess what? They go together, just like a man and a woman. We go together. Wow. It's that simple. But you see how we demonize each other over this stuff. It's crazy, man. But it takes a certain level of emotional intelligence and mental maturity to attack this sort of subject, which is why a lot of times I don't talk about it, because people get their feathers ruffled and they don't respond and they don't communicate and they don't act like mature adults. Which is why I recommend you go watch that video on my YouTube channel when it drops tomorrow, because then you can comment if you agree or disagree. That way I know where to take the discourse, because I plan on extrapolating this over a series, and I will on the podcast as well, because we have a little bit more time together here. So we're different, and you need to stop. There's a tendency now, and I want to wrap up this point before we move on to the next one, to like go the complete opposite way. And women are like, no, I'm a man. I'm better at being a man than a man. Whoa, no, that's wrong. That's why this whole strong, independent woman thing came up. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a woman and standing on her own 2 feet, not at all. But when it goes to the extreme, that's a problem. Fuck men, I don't need a man, and this and that, I'm whole by myself. Nobody's whole by themselves. Okay? Men and women are made for each other, period. When you start taking that shit to the extreme like that, it's wrong. And notice how a lot of these women that push that, and like the exaggerated version are alone, they're miserable, and they're not what you would consider the ideal woman. Okay? Look at the examples. How many women who preach that and are an embodiment of that philosophy, which I think is ass backwards, especially the extreme portion of it. How many can you find that are attractive, fulfilled, happy? I can't find any. So I don't find any. Okay. Now moving along. Stop trying to be a man. Okay. You're not going to find me trying to be a woman because I'm not a woman. Straight up. Okay. Number 2, respect yourself as a woman. Okay. If you're in the business place and you need to step up and adopt that masculine energy for a couple minutes or for 30 minutes or an hour, do it. Do it. That's the right thing to do to win if you're going to play the game. Additionally, your reputation is extremely important. A man's is as well, but especially yours. Especially if we're talking in the dating realm, it's extremely important. If you get the reputation as a loose chick, you sleep around, forget it. Forget finding a quality man. You will never find one because we're not going to invest our time and effort and emotions into a woman like that. Why? Too much risk. Too much risk. If you give it up easy, why? Just like you want a loyal man, we want a loyal woman. But hey, in our culture, it's cool. It's cool to do that and sleep around. And well, we're the same as men. We can do the same thing. No, we're not the same. How about the whole dressing thing? Remember what I said earlier about nature? Okay. Well, I should be able to dress and let my boobs hang out and my ass hang out and not have any men look at me. Dude, you're literally triggering the most primal thing in a man. We're literally fueled and driven, especially by sex. And when you sexualize yourself like that by the way you dress, you're going to get attention. Don't complain about it. You know exactly what you're doing. But you want to do it with impunity. That's not the way it works. That's like me killing somebody and saying, well, nope, I'm not going to go to jail. That's not the way it works. Now, I'm not excusing erratic behavior or somebody touching you. Of course not. But come on. You know exactly what's going to happen when you do that, especially if you go out to a club or you put yourself out in public to be seen. Why do you think even when a beautiful woman walks by, all men look, whether they're in a relationship or not? You're touching something in nature's code. It's primal in a man. And what did I tell you? Nature will always win. Now, am I saying what's natural always 100% of the time is perfect? No. But more often than not, virtually every time, that shit is going to win or be extremely difficult for people to suppress because it's in our DNA. It's not an excuse. People say, well, that's an excuse. No, it's not. We still have the choice ultimately because we're higher intelligence beings. Sure. But it's very difficult for people to go against their nature. Very difficult. Very difficult. Just like you can find scientifically the highest probability time and the actual window of time and days specifically for a woman when she's the most likely to cheat scientifically. Why? Because that's the time that she's most likely to get pregnant, and her body wants her to get pregnant by the strongest man. And in some cases, that's not their boyfriend. Okay. That's nature running its course. Okay. Now, does that always happen? No. But there's a lot of science behind it. I recommend you look it up because I don't have time to go over it specifically entirely on this podcast. But respect yourself, ladies. Respect yourself. Okay. Next point. Use what you have. You're a woman. Be a woman and accentuate what you have. If you're a salesperson, compared to a man, you have advantages, especially if skill for skill, you guys are equal. I'll put my money on you if you accentuate what you have as a woman. Your voice is better than ours. Your look and aesthetics are better than ours. That's a superpower. If you smell good, even if we smell good, it's an advantage. But if you smell good, it's even better. You have so many tools at your disposal, but you won't use them because, well, I'm not supposed to do that. Who told you that? That's the biggest lie and bunch of bullshit I've ever heard. Use what you have. Your intuition, stronger than a man's on average, much stronger. Use it. It will get you out of a lot of trouble and get you the right opportunities. If your intuition is telling you to do something or not do something, listen to it. Get more in tune with it. Intuition comes from within. It's extremely powerful, ladies. I've worked on my intuition a lot over the last couple of years, right? And man, does it come in handy. And you naturally have that. And again, by nature, you have to be intuitive. You're not as physically commanding as a man, right? Same thing with a woman's innate ability to influence and persuade and manipulate is higher than a man. You had to. How else could you keep somebody like me who's twice or three times your size off of you? But by having the gift of the gab and knowing how to manipulate me, and when I say manipulate, again, don't think about that word in a negative context. It just means to move, to change shape and form of that thing. Same thing with persuading and influencing. That comes more naturally to you guys too. You had to. How else would you survive back in the day, right? We've evolved for a long time as human beings. So we built these patterns and these tools and these skills by necessity. Otherwise, we would have been eradicated and we wouldn't have procreated and moved on and built the next generation and the next generation. Again, this transcends right or wrong, good or bad. Remember, we can't think in those terms. When you start thinking in those terms, you're misconstruing this information because this information is ancient in comparison to good or bad, right and wrong. And even the context of that, we have to collectively agree what is right and wrong. So if we're not doing it collectively and only a few select people are literally the ones telling you and commanding you what's good or bad or right or wrong, then that can have a very negative impact, can't it? Right? And that starts influencing our perception, but we're not aware that only a few people are selecting that. And we're told that that's what you're supposed to do. And we believe it. You see, this shit goes deep, very deep. Okay. Next one for the ladies. I said respect yourself, right? Now, how about your brand and your image? I brought up that your reputation is very important. How are you going to portray yourself? I recommend you portray yourself as elegant, prestigious, right? Those are the things you want to go after. Those are the things that as a man, that's the type of woman we want to align with. That's the type of woman that we respect. That's the type of woman who does business and handles her shit that we would see and say, man, I respect that woman. She carries herself with confidence and esteem and prestige. That's what we want. The lion wants a lioness, not a hyena. Carry yourself as such. Build yourself as such. Brand yourself as such, right? And that's just a decision. Just like on the opposite end of the spectrum, I'm going to carry myself like a fucking man. I want masculinity oozing out of me, the proper masculinity, of course. And I'm going to be a full embodiment of that. The lion, full lion's mane, ready to go, acting, being, walking, talking like a lion. Let's go. That's extremely important for you. And now in the day of social media, man, be mindful of what you post. I post a lot of wild stuff, but I'm mindful about what I post. I don't just post stuff to post it. I'm particular about what I post. I recommend you do the same. How can we start displaying a lot of these elements with how we post and how we interact with people, how we speak to people, how we speak to ourselves, how we view ourselves, right? Because that goes back to respect too. And I feel like as women, you guys allow too many people to put you down and stop you in your tracks, in particular other women, because that's a point I want to bring up. How are you going to handle other women? A lot of other women, just like men hating on men, it's the same thing. You need to check these other girls and women who try to talk you down and give you that passive aggressive talk and don't support you. I understand a lot of women I know don't have a lot of female friends, and it's difficult for them to keep female friends, genuine ones, good ones. They have acquaintances and people they can party with, but very few friends that they call close, genuine, real, authentic friends. And as time goes on, it's getting more and more difficult for both ends of the spectrum, men and women. But you got to check them, and you have to have a standard for yourself for what type of female and male am I going to have as a friend, but in particular female for this point. Is she going to support me? Is she going to cheer for me? Or is she going to put me down and be passive aggressive and take little shots at me and gossip behind my back or bring gossip talk to me? I don't want to hear that shit. But that standard has to be unshakable and unbreakable. And you have to set it. And you have to stop selling yourself short. Gone are the days, ladies, where you have to think about the low end of the stick or, oh, we don't have the same opportunities as men. It's 2021, honey. You have the same opportunities as us. There's a lot of women out there that are CEOs and killing it. If that's what you want to do, go for it. Why would you sell yourself short? And I feel in particular, a lot of women do that. Right? They do. Go at it, full steam ahead, and watch what happens. You'll be able to accomplish some really, really incredible things. Okay? But we'll cut it short here. I'll end it here. This is something, again, I'm going to peel back the layers and specifically bring in points and topics moving forward. I just kind of wanted to give you guys an introduction, but I think this is really important. I'm going to do a series for men and women, and I think both sexes need to step up in regards to this. Okay, so that's it for this one, guys. Shout out to Modern Success. If you guys are interested, hit me up. Team BC, shout out to you guys. And then if you guys are interested in learning more about my brokerage, reach out to me and we'll talk. All right, see ya.